Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Today, we are talking about why everything feels like an identity now. And that is something that I want to talk about because I feel it. And I'm sure that so many of you feel it. And I think this is a global issue. This is just not Canada, United States. This is the world. So if you've ever felt like criticism in your life towards you just cuts too deep, or the sense of failure just sticks around too long, or changing your mind feels strangely uncomfortable, I want you to stay with me on this episode, okay? Because by the end of the episode, you're going to understand exactly why your brain does this, and more importantly, how to stop letting every experience in your life define who you are. We got to talk about this. It's in the zeitgeist right now, and something that I'm observing, paying attention to, and I think we're both affected by. And I think that maybe I'm just putting a name to what it is that I think you think and feel, because I know you and I talk about it. And
True.
I'm naming something that we're experiencing, all of us who are paying attention to what's going on. So have you ever noticed that it's almost impossible to disagree with someone anymore? Yeah.
Pretty much every day.
Yeah. And it's not because people have stronger opinions, right, than they did in the 90s or the 80s or 70s, because opinions have become people's identities. And that's what I'm exhausted by and tired of. And I know that there are many people who are watching and listening who agree with me, right? Because it's like if somebody criticizes your diet, no, we don't like that, right? No one likes that. It feels like they're criticizing you as a person. And that's two very different things. Now, stay with me on this, right? It's diet that's very personal. And because you're personalizing, it's like they're criticizing me as a person. If someone questions your parenting, it's like they're questioning your worth. And I know I see that because we know a lot of people in our lives now we have a lot of people who are at the earlier end of our adult life and are having babies, pregnant and having babies. Like, watch out. There's much more, oh my gosh, rigidity, I think, around parenting today and raising and babies than it was with us.
Yeah.
It's different. If someone disagrees with your politics, it can feel like you're personally being rejected. If your business is struggling, many people don't think to themselves, how the business is struggling. They think, I'm failing. I'm failing. And along the way, I think we stopped having identities. I think we started becoming everything that we do, right? And that shift is costing us more than I think we realize. So today, I want to explain what I think and the research I've been doing about this, why this has happened, and what it's doing to our nervous system for all of us, the collective of this world, and how emotionally intelligent people learn to separate who they are from what they experience. Okay, so now we're talking about emotional intelligence and EQ again.
Okay.
Right?
Are we going to get into the other side of this too? Like, are we going to get in? So you're talking about how, like, if we identify as something and then somebody's critical to us, right? And we identify, if I'm hearing you right, it's how we identify in the role that we're being criticized in, right?
Right.
And I think you also have to look at like the criticizer, right? Because they're also like,
sure, it's their identity.
Well,
and their boldness, or you can call them being a badass. You could say it's hubris.
Yeah.
To come at you about what you perceive as you're coming at me about my beliefs or my thinking or my actions I've decided to take.
Right.
Yeah. We'll talk about that.
Okay.
It's on both sides.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, because I've been on both sides of it recently. Where I don't have. I don't have like an example, but I don't have a strong opinion about a certain group of people. Like, I think people are people, and I think it's changed. I'm sad to see that, especially in America and maybe in Canada, people, well, we all know. Let's talk about the political system here. I mean, we all have clumped each other into tribes, and everybody's in their thought silo. And not everybody, a lot of people in their thought silos, and I'm in this tribe and you're in that tribe. And there's a third tribe too, I think, that's coming up. And people really hate each other that are not in their tribe.
Yeah.
And if you disagree even a little bit, it's like, I don't even want to. I don't even, Anna, I don't even want to take the time to listen to you. Like, I'm going to shut this conversation. I'm going to shut you down because I don't want to talk to you. I have no interest whatsoever in talking about, air quote, those people.
Yeah.
And we were having, you were there for the conversation. We were having an innocuous conversation about, saying something about, like, I don't want to give too much away, and talking about, we were talking about, like, people who are rednecks. Like, what's a redneck? It's kind of weird. And I'm like, well, because I was talking like this, and, like, maybe it's not right, but I was talking like this and talking like that. And our friend goes, "You're talking like a redneck or something." I'm like, "Yeah, I love rednecks. I know rednecks. I've grown up with rednecks.
Yeah.
I know a lot of those people in my life. Those are some of my family members, my extended family members. Some of these people have been friends who were, their politics may not be your politics. And this person we were talking to is very left. A very close family member of hers might say that she's been radicalized, but I love her. I just love her. She's a dear, dear friend of ours. And she was saying, I said, what, do you not like rednecks? She's like, no, I can't stand rednecks. I'm like, how do you pay? And then she wouldn't let me say a word after that. She kept on talking. You were there.
Yeah.
You were there. And I just shut up because she shut me down. And I wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth it to get into it. But it bothered me. It stayed with me that she made a comment like that about a wide swath of people who I know. These people, redneck, where's it come from? A redneck. Those are farmers, people in the country, rural areas.
Yeah. Well, it's a
But
label, right?
it's
I
a
mean,
label, but it's more now, but it's now their, air quote, their othering. So we're othering each other, othering people, their politics, which are not yours, because those, air quote, those people are probably a little bit more conservative than you are. Maybe those people voted the way you didn't vote. So you've othered them, and could sort of weaponize the term redneck. And it bothers me because people are people, and those people, air quote, those people are also people who would give you the shirt off their back if you were in need. Those are the people who are going to pull
fair.
off to the side of the highway and help you change your tire. Those are the people who are also going to hold the door for you as you're coming out of the grocery store. Those people are also wonderful people. And so, like,
Yeah.
that's what that's part of this conversation today too, is because we have, I think that there's a lot of, like, emboldened power around, this is my tribe and I'm going to stay on my tribe and I don't want to talk to another tribe. So that's the political arena, which is a lot of this country. I think the World Cup has been wonderful for us. I think the World Cup has brought people globally together to see that all of us everyday people, not the politicians, not the media, we get along so well. I saw a meme on Instagram or one of the social media accounts, and our friend saw it too, Lisa, and it was so cute. It was showing, like, I don't know, all the Algerian people or the Scottish people and or Asians, and everybody was, like, playing in the street. And the meme was, it's like our aunts and uncles who never got along, and we never could see each other because our aunts and uncles didn't get along. Finally, now the cousins get together, get to be together and have a sleepover, and we're having the best time together because aunts and uncles aren't around. Our parents aren't here.
That's
And
fair.
we were laughing about it like it's true.
Yeah.
Like, all of us everyday people the world over, we get along very well.
Yeah.
And we're having a great time together.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the shift that's been happening over time, and I don't think that it has been, I don't think it's happened by accident. I think about in your life, everyone, think about growing up. Let's say you played soccer, but you weren't necessarily a soccer identity, right? You and I, we love rock music. We weren't, I wasn't the rock music girl. You weren't the rock music guy. You weren't you played basketball in high school. So did I. It wasn't, you were the basketball guy. You were on a basketball team. You played basketball, right? You voted. I voted when we have voted for our candidates that we wanted, but it wasn't our entire personality. I remember we would go to vote in the different elections, and I wouldn't even talk about it. I'd do it before work, and then I'd go to work and I wouldn't even mention it to anybody. There was a day when, people would say, "Oh, did you vote?" And that was it. That has changed. Do you remember in the 80s and the 90s when we were told you don't talk about politics or religion at work? Well, that's
Yeah.
like out the window now. People
It's out
want
the
to
window.
virtue signal and find out who you vote for so they can, there's a lot of virtue signaling going on.
Yeah.
But it wasn't your personality, right? Today, the algorithms are rewarding certainty. So social media rewards labels. Communities are forming around identities, like I just said, with politics in particular. Not just politics becoming your identity, wellness has become an identity for many people. And I talked about that in previous episodes.
Yeah.
It bothers me. Mental health has become an identity. It has.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurship has become an identity. Motherhood is an identity. Healing has become an identity. Even anxiety for some people has become an identity. And here's the problem. Once everything becomes a part of who you are, every criticism feels personal. Every mistake feels permanent. Can't change it. Can't change it. Every setback feels like proof that something is wrong with you.
Interesting. So let me ask you a question. At what point does a passion flip into an identity? Like if you have a passion for something, right, which is wonderful, and you embrace it and you kind of get yourself all in on it, right? I don't know that that's necessarily what you're talking about right here. You're talking about it's almost like a next level move, right? That somebody goes from being all in on being a soccer player, let's say, to identifying that's how they present all the time, right? That's kind of what you're saying.
Well, think about like we talk about, professional athletes that I have worked with, and this is true. I know this to be true. Former professional athletes that I've worked with in my coaching practice. What do we say the other term for the National Football League, the NFL? National Football League. What's the other thing we say?
Not for long.
There you go.
Right.
That is an example of it's your identity. My identity is football. My identity, my whole life is that I am a football player. I'm a talented football player. I've worked my butt off. Yes, you have. Yes, you have the big T talent, but you've also got a lot of hard work and a lot of discipline and a lot of grit and resilience coming back from injuries over and over and over again to get you to where you are to play D1, for the most part, D1 football in college, and now you're in the NFL, the National Football League in the United States. It's a big thing here, right? And you're gonna hit some major roadblocks emotionally, psychologically, mentally, if you don't realize as a professional athlete that this is not for long. Your body will not be able to do at 42 what it did at 26 or 23.
Yeah.
You've got to get your head around that, and you have to figure that out. You have to. You have to see a therapist. If you need to see a therapist, get coaching around your present and your future. And that's a lot of what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
And the identity. And it's like, what do I do with myself now? I've always been that person.
Yeah. I mean, I think somebody would push back on that a little bit. I think that, you've got these players, and then what happens when they retire? I mean, maybe they get into broadcasting. Maybe they get into
some of them.
Some of them do.
Some of them have no idea, and some of them aren't good at broadcasting.
Yeah, but some coach, some right. I mean, they write a book.
Tim.
They, they're on podcasts.
But they're not an athlete anymore. They're not out there on the field playing football. They're not on the D line.
Yeah.
They're not the quarterback anymore. Someone has moved in and taken your place who's 22 years old. It's not you.
Yeah. But
and that's hard identity shift for people.
It is.
Because that's who I am. I am the quarterback.
Yeah.
I am the guy with the arm.
Yeah. But I think there's a world out there that also still, like, if you drop a name, drop a 1980s quarterback name right now.
Joe Theismann.
Why?
Because Washington Redskins. Yes, I'm saying Redskins because that's where I grew up with. Joe Theismann. Go ahead.
Okay.
Continue.
So you drop the Joe Theismann name, right? And in certain circles, he's still identified first as a football player, even though, and I don't even know
in D.C. and in Virginia where his restaurants are, yeah.
Well, I mean, I think in the United States, I mean, that's a name that everybody's like, if you have any remote connection to football at all, you're like, oh yeah, Theismann, he's the dude that his leg got bent sideways, right? Like everybody knows this. But like,
well, we beat the Miami Dolphins in the national championship, right?
Okay, first of all, if you're gonna say it properly. In national championship, Super Bowl, maybe, like okay.
Did we beat him in the national championship and then we beat him the next year in the Super Bowl? Okay, no. Okay, I take it
All
back.
right, I'm just gonna let
All
this
right.
go.
Because you're a huge Dolphins fan. You
Yeah,
don't like it
let's remember.
when I remind you of that John Riggins and that famous poster that my brother has in his room.
Okay,
And, okay.
just for my Dolphin fans out there, who did the Dolphins beat in the perfect season in the Super Bowl? Okay, that's enough said. So anyway, Theismann, I think a lot of people still identify him as a football player, right? And he's probably rode that.
I want to know how he identifies himself. That's what I
Ah.
care about. I want to care about how you identify yourself. I'm not as interested.
Yeah.
And I would tell anybody I coach, I'm not interested, and I got to get you to not be interested as much in how. And I'm doing this actually I'm doing this work right now with coaching clients.
Yeah.
I don't care. So my job is to get you to not care or care less about how others identify with you. Because at the end of the day, the story is ours. It's our story. It's how do I identify?
Yeah.
I was a professional football player. I played in how many Super Bowls? This is who I am. I've got all my restaurants and my bars with my name. You go to Miami, Dan Marino's, and you have John Shula, all these restaurants and bars because that's what they went into after. So maybe they would identify if you talk to them. I'm a restaurateur. I'm an owner of small businesses, and I'm an entrepreneur, a restaurateur. They may identify as, and that would be good because let's say that's their present day job. Dan Marino was a part owner or manager of the Miami Dolphins. So yeah, I'm a football player, but I'm also all these other things. I'm also a dad, of 4 kids, a husband, right? So they have other identities.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. And the healthy attitude is one that I used to be that. And yeah, when I was 22, my whole life was football, but now I'm 45 and these are also my identities.
Okay. I hear now about what you're saying. Cause I think that maybe the word that we need to throw in here is former, right? I'm a former football player who uses that history to open the doors for me now as a business owner, as a restaurant owner, as a book
and it's
writer,
still a
whatever.
part of who I am. It's just not all that I am.
It's not all of it.
And I still like that identity is right there with me. It's just not my whole identity if you look at the pie chart, so to speak. Okay.
Yeah.
So before we go any further in this episode, because I got lots to share with you all, I want to take a minute because if you're listening to this episode so far and you're thinking, yeah, that's exactly what I do. I do this. I want you to know that you're not alone. One of the biggest misconceptions I think that people have these days is that if they understand why they overthink, then they'll stop overthinking, right? But understanding yourself and changing yourself are two very different things. So most of the people that I work with, they already know that they replay conversations in their heads. Like it's they spiral down, they replay conversations. They already know that they will personalize and they take things personally. They already know they struggle to quiet their minds. It's a struggle. It's hard. It's hard not to wake up 3 a.m. and their mind's wide awake and they're going down that rabbit hole, right? They can't seem to quiet their minds. Insight is not what's missing for them. The skills are what's missing. And that's exactly why I created my group coaching program, Quiet the Noise. All right. So that is a 6-week live coaching experience where I teach emotional intelligence and emotional regulation skills. And these are not abstract concepts that I'm teaching you. They're the practical skills that you're going to be able to use immediately. All right. So this is some good stuff. I wish that I was in a group coaching program like this 25, 30 years ago. I think it's so valuable to learn these skills and not just the fluffy stuff, just not the fluff, that's not how I work. And that's what people come back to me and people tell me, wow, this is amazing. I have people who say to me, you should be charging 3 times more than you are. This is like better than these big life coaches out there. I mean, who needs to be told to drink 8 glasses of water 8 times a day? Like, no, that's some of these group coaching programs. Like, no, that people get into.
Yeah.
Like, I cannot believe what a waste of time this is. This is not what I'm teaching you. I'm really giving you the practical skills. So we are together. We're going to learn how to interrupt emotional spirals before they take over in your life. I'm going to teach you, you're going to learn how to separate thoughts from facts, how to recover faster after stress, and how to stop outsourcing your mental state to other people's opinions, reactions, and expectations. That is huge, okay? And before the program even begins, every participant's getting a private 30-minute one-on-one coaching session with me. Hello. I would jump on that because I want to know what it is that you want to work on. So I'm taking notes, and that's why this is it's group coaching, it's small group coaching, but I know you and I know what you want to work on. I got Susie, Scott, Aaron, Joe, you all are in my head. I've got notes on this is what they want to work on. So I'm going to make sure that I'm going to meet your needs in this group coaching. Okay. So that's real. That's like some pretty gold stuff, some nuggets I'm giving you. All right. So, if today's episode is already resonating for you, there's a good chance that this program was designed for someone exactly like you. Okay. So, enrollment is now open. The link is in the notes. Okay. So, get in there. I want to see you in there. All right. Let's work together. I'm going to help you make these changes in your life. All right. If you've been saying, all right, I know I need to do this, and I listen to Ann on the podcast all the time, and I'm interested. So, if you're someone who listens and you're interested in this, you want this coaching. All right. All right, so let's get back to the episode. So why?
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
So that one-on-one,
yeah,
does that it sounds like that happens early in this?
Yeah, that's
right?
why you got to get in quickly. Some people are not going to be able to do it before the group coaching starts. That's okay.
Yeah.
I will. And by the way, every episode is going to be recorded. So if you can't be at one of the Wednesday night meetings that we're having, it's recorded. So I'll send it to you, or my team will send it to you. You're going to have it. It just won't be live. And for some of you, you may not be able to get in because you're busy, you're traveling, you've got stuff going on. That's okay. We could be in, group coaching week 1 or 2, and I can still meet with you. We got 4 more left. I'm still going to be able to
Got it. Okay.
pull in what it is that you need to work on
Yeah.
into the group. And listen, the individual coaching in 30 minutes, I can coach up pretty well in 30 minutes for you. Okay. All right. So let's get back to the episode. So why do our brains do this? So your brain is constantly asking one question: where do I belong? Where do I belong in my experience on this earth? Because for thousands of years, belonging meant survival. Most of us know this, right? We are socially conditioned creatures. So being rejected from your tribe literally meant death. Like that, if you got rejected, got kicked out of the tribe, you were going to die. You needed the tribe to literally stay alive from like the saber-toothed tiger, or literally getting eaten alive. Today, we don't fear the saber-toothed tiger, right? We fear social isolation and we fear social exclusion. Research in social neuroscience has shown that social rejection activates many of the same brain regions involved in physical pain. Interesting. Our brains have not evolved that much of the past, 2 million years. And that's one reason why criticism, exclusion, and feeling misunderstood really can hurt so much for us, right? So when someone challenges one of your identities, your nervous system doesn't experience it as information. Maybe it should experience it as information. It doesn't. The nervous system experiences it as danger. So that's just the background of why our brains are working the way they are. We haven't really changed that much. Being a part of a group and a tribe is feeling a sense of belonging, being seen and feeling heard. That's why this is so important to us as people. Psychologists, we call it identity fusion. All right. So that's actually the term for it. It's when a boundary between who you are and what you believe has become incredibly thin. So instead of saying, I believe this, you become, this is who I am. All right. So that's an important differentiation there. Right. And this is what's happened, now. So now if this is who I am, disagreement feels like an attack on you as a person, on who you are as a person. Like fundamentally, you have attacked who I am. No, I just disagree with you on what you believe. Let's say what you believe in, let's take a hot topic button. Like I don't believe or agree with what you believe with religion.
Yeah.
I don't believe or agree with I don't agree with your politics.
Yeah.
I'm saying it to you. And let's say you're saying, I can feel very attacked by that. Because now you're going after me as a person. No, I'm not going after you as a person. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with you, right? It could feel like an attack. And failure can feel like shame for many people. I mean, many people, it feels like there's something wrong with me. I failed at this, right? Changing your mind can feel to some people like betrayal. And that is very important for you to know that you can change your mind. But it feels in the beginning, until you've done this work, it can feel like a betrayal. So no wonder people become defensive, right? So I see this every day, every day. People don't say it's changed too. People don't say I'm feeling anxious. People say I have anxiety. And I probably have said that. I probably have said that too. And maybe I ought to differentiate the two, even when I say in the podcast, because I do have anxiety, but it's not who I am. It's not much of who I am. And it's there. I have this feeling of anxiety. People don't say, I'm struggling at work. I do see this. I'm struggling with work. I'm struggling at work, especially with entrepreneurs. They'll come to me and say, I'm failing. I'm failing at work. I'm a failure. This is failing. It's not working.
Mm.
You know, this is also pretty common. My marriage, people don't say, my marriage is really difficult right now. What I hear people say is, I picked the wrong life. I think I picked the wrong person. I actually think I picked the wrong life. And that is devastating for people when they say that out loud. That's a hard, hard one. So do you notice what's happening?
So what in that scenario? What is that person? What are they identifying as? If all of a sudden they get to the point where like I picked the wrong life, like you're identifying as what?
There's some shame around.
Perfect,
Yeah.
a perfect spouse. Is that what
Now, remember, everybody, as always for the podcast, we are talking in generalities. I can't get into nuance because I could get real nuanced around the whole marriage thing,
Yeah.
for each of the people and the couples I've worked with over the past 26 years. There is nuance to that. So for this episode today, I am going to speak in generalities because I don't know you. I can give examples and I will, but I have to say that because there are people who say to me, I have picked the wrong person and I picked the wrong life.
Mm.
And I'm like, okay, well, let's dig down on that. I'm going to pull on that thread. Let's go because I need to understand a little bit more about how you think you picked the wrong person because you didn't 10 years ago.
Yeah.
What is really going on? And that's what we do, whether I'm coaching you, sometimes it's therapy. We're really getting into the nitty gritty and the weeds of your life, right? Some people say, I picked the wrong life. And I'm like, wait. You've never seen a therapist? You've never seen a couples therapist? You've never talked about these issues? You've never worked this through? Well, no, we argue about it. We bicker about it in the kitchen, right, in the car. And now we're doing the silent treatment. We're not really looking at our marriage and we're la, 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 see no evil, hear no evil, speak la, la, la. We're acting like it's not really there. It's not really happening. La, 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 la. There are issues here, but let's not really talk about it because we've got kids to raise and we've got jobs to go to.
Yeah.
We've got Halloween coming up, and they do that for years. And then I will usually get one person who says, I married the wrong person. I'm like, well, you've never looked at anything in your marriage. So how do you know you're in the wrong marriage and you picked the wrong person? That's so that's the beginning of me getting a nuance with people.
Right.
But for this episode, I'm talking about identity. I'm talking about the global sense of identity,
Yeah.
right? Of what we do to ourselves. Like, I picked the wrong life. I mean, you feel there's a lot of embarrassment. And for people, there's shame around that. So what I will say quickly is, okay, well, if I'm working with you one-on-one, we're going to really look at that. I don't know that you picked the wrong life. But for this episode today, it's identity. Like, how did I screw this up so badly? Right. So temporary experiences for some of these people, it's temporary. They didn't feel this way. And I've worked with couples who they move on to have a much more improved and really wonderful relationship, partnership, marriage, because they decided to do the work.
Right.
Right. But what happens is these temporary experiences, let's say of this year, of the past couple of years, have become permanent identities for them, which scares me a little bit with big decisions like being in a marriage, because if it's become your permanent identity, you're never looking at it. What you see is people walking out the door and splitting up in a marriage when you had a lot of potential to have a very successful relationship, partnership, but you didn't do the work.
Right.
Right. So this is one of the biggest reasons emotionally intelligent people appear calmer than everybody else, though. Right. Not because they don't experience anxiety or embarrassment or disappointment. They absolutely do. They've simply learned not to confuse an experience with who they are.
Right.
That's important.
Can I give you a scenario and then you can maybe assess it real quick? So I'm thinking in work, like in a workplace.
Uh-huh.
So you've got a person who's a manager of a certain division of your business.
Okay.
Okay. And maybe they grew up with an interest in whatever this is. I don't want to give away all the details of this because I actually have a person in my head, but like they grew up in this world, they worked in this world, whatever this world is,
Right.
and now they come and they work for us in this and
Like nepotism? Like a little bit of nepotism going on? Like,
no.
oh,
So let's just say it's all about swimming, right? They grew up as a swimmer, then they were on the swim team, and then they went to college, and they were on the swim team again, and then all of a sudden they started to coach, and then they coached it
okay.
bigger
Sure.
to the point now where it's like now they can work for us, and it's a bigger role. But
They advanced their certifications that they could actually
yeah,
coach
of whatever it
Olympic
is.
athletes.
Yeah. So, but now, so now this person, let's say, now starts to, in our conversation today, it feels like they're starting to identify like that's what that's the perception I give to everybody every day is that I am a swim coach, right? And so now you start to get into the critiques of that. And maybe you put in so much extra time because you feel like you have to be successful. And it's like all of a sudden the work-life balance becomes shifted and the criticisms or the critiques that you get become become louder, maybe a little bit more pinpointed towards you, and you just can't not hear it being about you all the time. Right? Is that kind of what you're talking about? Where it's like all of a sudden it's like that person almost needs to take a step back for a second.
Yeah.
Right? And just like, whoa, hold on a second.
They need to de-identify with all things swimming.
Yeah.
And they need to be able to take, well, they should have learned that. First of all, they ought to have learned that when they were much younger, but not to take everything personally. So there's some thought distortions in there. Personalization is a huge one. I mean, I could get into the whole list of some thought distortions that are probably coming up for that person.
Yeah.
And they need to, you need to de-identify. And that's not, and there's also some acceptance and commitment therapy I could pull in. You need to separate who you are and what you do. Like you need to separate them out. And that's the skills that most of us never learned. No one ever taught us these things.
Yeah.
And that's what I teach.
Yeah.
We never learned how to separate that this is who I am. I'm mom, I'm mommy, I'm mommy, I'm a mama. This is what I do. This is what I do. This is what I do. I'm a therapist. I'm a therapist. I'm a therapist. Like,
yeah.
Well, yeah, but okay. You're a therapist. It's a huge part of your identity, but it's not all that you are.
Right. It's like you never take that hat off. Like you go around the world dressed as that person.
Yes.
Air quotes, dressed as that person
Well,
all the
okay,
time.
we're getting in the weeds, but we'll go there for a little bit. I mean, that's ego. That is ego. And that is when you really dig deep down underneath ego, you can see there might be some fractures inside one's psyche, psychology. There's insecurities, there's vulnerabilities, and that's what I do in the work I do with my clients.
Yeah.
So we get into that. We get into what's this really about? We got to do the deep dive. And that's what makes me different as a high performance personal development coach than many other coaches is because of my mental health background. I need to understand that. More importantly, I want my clients to understand that. I don't think change comes about until we really do. So insight is important. I talk about it all the time on here. I talk about it on social media. Insight is the first step and awareness. And then we move into changing behavior and taking action. And insight is important to understand why are you so like holding on to that identity so much?
Yeah.
You're like white knuckling it, like holding on to something and like, okay, loosen your grip.
Yeah.
Why are you holding on so tight?
Well, might it?
That's ego.
Yeah. Well, or it might it be
for many people, not maybe everybody.
Yeah, but maybe it's also like this person, and maybe it's not the right take, but if it's their take, is that that's the expectation. Like I'm expected to be this person.
Okay, well, then we're going to talk about that.
Right.
Whose expectations?
Right.
Who told you that this was the expectation?
Right.
Who told you?
Yeah.
Well, you'd be surprised at the answer because I've asked that question. Who told you that?
Yeah.
Many people say no one. Some people do, and some people do say people. There are people in their lives.
Or they just think, well, that's just how I'm supposed to be, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Most people are like, okay, that's a good question. And my mom, my dad, did they say this to you? That's the expected? Well, oh, no.
It's a misread.
No.
Yeah.
Well, but I know that no. Do you know? Have you ever asked them?
Yeah.
So now we're mind reading. And that's like, I push, and then they realize, okay, fine. Like, really? Like, you've been all up in your head with all this messaging that you have given to yourself that you thought everybody's expectations of you were this. And maybe for some individuals in your life, implicitly it was there. But really, this is a you issue. This is you with you that you expected it would be this way. It would go this way.
Yeah.
When really, truth be told, no one told you that.
Yeah.
Your dad never said, I expect this of you. And it's interesting. I've had conversations where part of the homework has been, I want you to have that conversation with your dad. I want you to have that conversation with, I don't know, your mom. And they have. It's like, we never expected that of you. We saw that you had talent and we supported you. We did everything we could. Those early morning practices, those late at night practices, getting you to that personal trainer, getting you to that baseball coach who specialized in the pitching coach. We did all those things because you were interested and we enjoyed it.
Yeah.
We wanted that for you, but we never expected you to play ball in college. We enjoyed it. Hey, we like going to games. We like the whole kind of cultishness of it.
Yeah.
We did enjoy it, but we didn't expect that of you. We never spoke of it. We just thought that that's what you loved.
Yeah.
Well, I know I did too, but I thought you expected me to be a number one all the time. No, son, daughter, we never thought that of you.
Right.
It's unbelievable, like these non-verbalized expectations that we have of ourselves and what we think others have of us and how we really are not communicating well about all of us as we're going up through these years. And now here I am at 35 and this is still my identity and I am disappointed in myself and I think others are disappointed in me, but you never talk to them about it.
Well, so the scenario I'm giving you is actually a real scenario. Like I'm going through this now, like literally right now with somebody. So thank you for that assessment. Cause I'm like, if I had paper, I'd be writing some notes down.
Really?
Like, oh yeah, 1,000%.
Oh, that's interesting.
These conversations are going to be real, like in the next 48 hours ish.
Good.
So
Good. I'm glad that was helpful.
Off we go.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about athletes. Athletes understand this better, everyone. I know because it's my jam, and this is the world that I'm in. Being an athlete myself and coaching and working with athletes. So one thing that elite athletes learn, especially those who stay successful for 4 years, is that they cannot confuse performance with identity. I'm going to say that again. They cannot and they do not confuse performance with identity, right? So an Olympic swimmer has a terrible race. A quarterback throws 4 interceptions in a game. A golfer misses the cut. The best coaches don't ask, who are you? Who are you? They ask, okay, what happened? What happened? The best coaches do.
Yeah.
One bad race doesn't make an Olympian a failure. One missed free throw doesn't erase 20 years of practice. Don't we all know that? Don't we all know that? But when it's you, we forget, right? We can watch it. We're like, oh, come on, it's one bad free throw. Kind of wish you made it. You didn't. But, it's 20 years of practice. We don't think that they're a terrible player, right? And they don't think they're a terrible player. One injury doesn't change who someone is. Elite performers constantly separate identity from performance. That's one reason why they recover faster. They evaluate their performance. They don't question their worth. That's really, really important. They don't question their worth. This is one of the greatest mental skills in sport. And it's just as valuable for all of you in everyday life. Nothing that I talk about with the mental skills of athletes and, the performance of athletes, none of this is just for them. This is for all of you. Every single one of you watching and listening can adopt these skills. All right. Go. I know you're going to say something.
So that's so interesting because like and we've all seen this. So you have an athlete, they go out, they do something great. They go out and they don't do something great, right? What happens at the end? What happens at the very end every single time? They sit in front of the media just like this.
They have to.
Right, they do. They have to. That's the expectation. I think they're actually obligated to, right? With the microphone and the cast of thousands in front of them. And the ones that need to hear the things that you're saying are those people. Because the questions that are asked to this poor person, I think they step over the line between performance and you as a person sometimes.
Well, they're there for the masses. They're not there for that athlete. They're there for the masses, and the athlete knows that. The athlete's been coached up on that. Most of them have been coached up on that.
They have, and I agree with all of that. And I think that they're overstepping in some of the questions, and this poor person has
They
to
want to be
then-
disruptive. That's their job.
Yeah.
And the athlete knows
but
that.
should they? But should they be?
Well, shoulda, coulda, woulda. I mean, should they? No, but they do.
Yeah.
And they do.
But then
what I care about is that athlete knows how to deal with the media.
Well, but they've
had media training.
Not all of them do.
No, not all, but
Yeah.
many of them have had training, and hopefully they will get coached up and trained on how to deal with the media.
Yeah.
You know, there are times when you see like a play where a total like, gosh, they fumbled the ball, or why did you throw the ball there? Or, oh, you know, and it's your team and you want to win so bad and you see a major screw up. My heart always goes out to that athlete. And I think, what are they thinking? What are they thinking? I'm watching behind a TV screen. What are they thinking right now? What are they thinking right now? And I hope that they're using the skills that they've learned from their sports psychologists. Hopefully they're working with their sports performance therapists, you know, their mental skills person. I hope that they're employing those skills right then and there in that moment as they're in a stadium with 60, 80,000 people who were, you know, it's a home game, watching them, you know, throw an interception.
Yeah.
You know, that's when you got to employ those skills that you've learned and you've been honing and putting in the reps over and over and over again.
Yeah.
You know, the pressure is on them. They're feeling it. Literally, the limelight is on them. You know, and most of us in our lives have had those moments as well, smaller moments, and have had those moments.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where these skills come into place. All right. So this is where emotional intelligence comes in. So emotionally intelligent people, they learn to separate 4 things. All right. 4 things: who I am, what I think, what I feel, and what I do. All right. I'll say it again: who I am, what I think, what I feel, and what I do. Those are not interchangeables. So you can think something without it defining you. Really important. You can think something, you just had the thought.
Yeah.
So this is acceptance and commitment, a little bit of therapy I'm pulling in here. And I coach everybody on this. This is how I coach. You can feel something without believing it. Really important, everyone. You could feel something without believing it. You can do something poorly without becoming a failure. For all the athletes out there, all the high performers, you can do something poorly. You can have a terrible pitch meeting. You can give a terrible keynote. You can just have a really bad day and just know that you're just like, I am not leading these people today because I'm messed up from something in my personal life or something I saw earlier this morning.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you're a failure. You did something, you had a shit day. You did something poorly. It doesn't mean you're a failure. And these people who are emotionally intelligent, who've worked with people like me, they know this, right? So this separation creates enormous psychological flexibility, which is so freeing and so liberating. And psychological flexibility is one of the strongest predictors of resilience. Strongest predictors of resilience. So why do we stay stuck? Like, yeah, okay, Anna, that's great. That feels like it's a far cry from where I'm at right now. All right, we'll get you there. We'll get you there. Why is everything for today becoming an identity for us? Growth has become dangerous for many people because changing behavior now, it feels like you're changing yourself. If being the air quote strong one is your identity, asking for help can feel very threatening for people. I'm the strong one. I don't ask for help, or I need to do it in the quiet at night under the covers so nobody can see that I really do need help. It feels threatening.
Yeah.
If productivity is your identity, you're the person who gets everything done, and that's your identity at work, and maybe in your personal life or with your friends, she's the mover and the shaker. He's the one who gets stuff done, right? Rest can feel irresponsible. There's always something next to do. There's always something to do. There's always more to do around the house. There's always more to do at work. There's more improvements, always more improvements. Rest can feel, and I had a boss like this who was like this with me and years ago. And it was like the moment she saw me, the moment that she saw me sitting down in the conference room or at the nurse's station and like maybe chit-chatting with another nurse or with one of the other therapists, she's like, Anna, what are you doing?
Really?
Oh, yeah. What are you doing?
Okay.
I'm taking a 10-minute break between clients and patients, and I'm talking with somebody about their weekend.
Yeah.
Nope. Did you chart on all those patients? You got all those? Have you charted on the patients? Have you put your notes in the chart? You call family. I've talked about this before. Like, call family. Like, I just talked to the mom yesterday. Like, when I worked in adolescence, I just talked to the mom yesterday. No, you need to call her again. You can't communicate. I've told you this before.
Yeah.
You can't
No.
communicate with those parents enough. Call her again. I'm like, okay, can I just take a break? Because it was about her. She did not like when anybody said, and wasn't, you could eat your lunch, but if you weren't eating your lunch and on your designated 30-minute lunch break, she wanted you like get stuff done. And I started to avoid her. I would like go somewhere else because I didn't want to be around her.
Right.
And I worked my ass off. I worked so hard. I was a family therapist for a very busy eating disorder program. I was the family therapist. You know how many families I saw and how intense it was? The burnout rate was so high. I was like, I need a break.
Yeah.
I cannot go from this session where there was crying and there was yelling and all this stuff from childhood's coming up. I mean, these are intense sessions. And I have 10, 15 minutes or a family's come running late. And I'm like, okay, good. They're running late because I'm getting a little bit more of a break before the next family session.
Yeah.
And she would ride my ass. And she had like this thing about like the identity of the whole program. Like she carried the whole program on her back. It wasn't hers to carry and she did it. And I didn't have time to deal with her psychology. She was actually my boss.
Let's talk about that.
But I felt it. I was on the other end of it. I was on the other end of her like, don't be irresponsible. I'm like, I'm not being irresponsible. And I'm like, and then when I went to leave that job, she was so mad at me. She wouldn't talk to me for a week because I was one of the, I'm going to toot my own horn here. I was one of the best therapists and she knew it. And we actually got along very well. And she was actually a friend of mine and became a very good friend of mine. It just drove me nuts. We worked the same when I worked with her. And
the work dynamics, not so much.
Where she just would ride me all the time.
Yeah.
Like, you get to knock it off. I need a break here.
Yeah.
I'm burning out. So, if being agreeable, let's go back to the episode. So if being agreeable is also your identity, and this is big for a lot of people, the agreeability, which is one of the top 5 big personality traits. It's a positive, but being agreeable can be positive to a fault. So if you're always agreeable and that's how you identify yourself, that you're the go along to get along person, gal or guy, setting boundaries can feel really selfish for you. This is a big one for many, many people. Like if you're the people pleaser, setting boundaries can feel like, okay, I'm just being really selfish. You're not, but you're also not used to it. You haven't flexed that muscle. So we got to work on that. You're not protecting the behavior. What you're doing is you're protecting your identity as how you see yourself. And so that's why insight alone, like I just said earlier, it rarely changes us. It is the first step, insight and awareness. But if you stop there, which a lot of people will do in therapy, it won't change you. It's not going to change. The nervous system thinks it's protecting your survival. So let's move into the tools. All right. What are some of the tools you can use here? So number 1, I want you to catch your identity language. All right. Just start there. So this is the awareness. Catch your identity language. Notice when you say, I've just always been this way, or this is who I am. Is that actually your identity or simply a habit that you've been practicing for months and years? For many of you, it's years, right? Separate state from self. Separate state from self, right? So instead of saying, I'm anxious, try, yeah, I'm really noticing some anxieties coming up for me. Instead of saying to yourself, I'm a failure, try, yeah, that didn't really go the way I hoped. Language matters. And I want to say this is called cognitive diffusion, DEFUSION, cognitive diffusion in acceptance and commitment therapy. So what you're doing is you're taking the thought and you're removing it from yourself. So I always say to clients, it's like put the thought bubble up here and just say, I'm noticing that I'm feeling anxious. So it takes it out of I'm anxiety. I'm just like one big ball of anxiety. No, you're not. You're a lot of things other than anxiety. I'm panicked. I'm just like panicky person. No, you're experiencing panic. Take the panic, put it over here, and you look at it like the cartoons in the olden days, and just notice the thought bubble of like I'm feeling some panic right now. I'm feeling I'm people pleasing. I'm noticing that I'm people pleasing. But you are not a people pleaser. And that's really, really important for people. Okay. It's really a mindset shift in how you think, right? So that's important. Language does matter. What you say to yourself does matter. I want you to replace labels with behaviors. Okay. So don't ask yourself, what kind of person am I? What kind of person am I? Ask yourself, what behavior changed? What behavior I'm sorry, what behavior is happening right now? And what behavior do I want to work on? What behavior can I change? All right. So, what behavior happened for me right now? Right. That's really important versus like, what kind of person am I? This general statement that we can and do make to ourselves because you're labeling yourself, and labels are what keep us stuck. Don't label yourself. I want you to practice being wrong. Practice, and some people have to practice this. Well, a lot of people do. Let yourself update your thinking. Changing your mind doesn't mean you're weak, people. All of us. This is a big one. I had to work on this. I worked on this years ago, and it's so freeing. You get to change your mind. You get to change your mind. As we get new information, as you get more educated on something, as you get more knowledgeable, like, oh, I didn't know that. As you hear other people's perspectives, like, okay, all right, I'm willing to change my mind. And if you're not willing to change my mind, that's a different issue. That's a different conversation
Yeah.
that you need to have with someone. But that's psychological flexibility. I think that's Susan David's psychological agility from Susan David, the psychologist, talks about psychological agility. Psychological flexibility
I
that
like
you
that
can change.
word, psychological
Adam Grant.
agility.
Yeah, and Adam Grant
Yeah.
talks about it too. Psychological, you can change your mind.
Yeah.
It's so freeing.
Some people will never, though.
Well, that's on them.
It is.
It is.
And
right.
it also happens. I mean, it's
Some
like,
people will have no, and those people who have no interest in this, they're not listening to the podcast.
yeah,
And they're not watching it.
yeah.
Because there are people who this is just a bunch of hooey, and that's okay.
Or they just don't know. They just, right.
And they're not even going to turn it on and take the time to listen.
Yeah.
Because, I do think that there's people who are interested, who are psychologically minded and really interested in all of this. And there are people in the world that we know who have zero interest in mental health and in coaching and personal development. I mean,
Yeah.
I know people who are like, yeah, I do not care about that. And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's them.
Yeah.
There's just,
Yeah.
that's the tribe. They're not in this tribe.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I'm in a lot of different tribes. I don't like to say that either. I think people are people and get to know people one-on-one. But I think there are groups of people who are more interested in psychology and personal development, and there are also people who are not.
Yeah. Well,
And,
even if you're not, I mean, just be open to change. I mean, I think that's,
yeah. And not everybody is.
You don't have to be psychologically agile, right? Like, or
No,
even
no.
semi. You could still be open to changing yourself,
And there are people who are not.
Yeah.
And that's okay for them, and that's
Yeah.
okay for us. And then you get to decide how much you want to interface and be around that.
Right.
That's up to you.
Right.
Okay. So what are your power moves? I got one. That's it. Because I just gave you those tips.
Just one?
I got one. Yeah. Because, I just gave you some practical tools. I gave you the 4 practical tools. This is just one power move this time.
Okay.
The next time you catch yourself saying to yourself, that's just who I am, or some version of that, you can think for yourself what you might say to yourself. I want you to pause, and I want you to ask yourself instead, is this actually my identity, or is it simply a behavior, a belief, or a coping strategy that I practiced for a really long time? Okay. So instead of saying, that's just who I am, that's just who I am, stop for a minute, take a deep breath, pause, and ask yourself this question. I'm repeating it. It's important. Is this actually my identity? Is this really actually just who I am? Or is this just simply a behavior, a belief, or a coping strategy that I've just been practicing for a really long time? That one question, if you're willing to ask yourself that one question, it creates space in your head. And space is where change starts to happen. That's where change begins. All right. So if there's one thing that you're going to remember from today's episode, it's this: you're allowed to have opinions without becoming your opinions. You're allowed to have emotions without becoming your emotions. You're allowed to fail without becoming a failure. Fail. I want you to fail. You're not a failure. Fail forward. You're allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to grow, right? You're allowed to grow. I want you to grow. You're allowed to become someone different than who you were 5 years ago. We're all on this trajectory of life, right? We're all on this journey of life.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you're willing to still change and grow, right? Because emotionally healthy people don't spend their lives protecting an identity. They spend their lives becoming fully more of themselves in all that that is, all the wonderful nuance of who and how each of you are as human beings. So if today's conversation resonated with you and you're ready to build those emotional skills in your own life, enrollment for my group coaching, it's starting next week. Well, I don't know when. No, it's starting. Yeah, it is. Enrollment for Quiet the Noise is now open. Okay. So it's a 6-week live coaching experience. I'd love to have you all join us. You'll find the registration link in today's show notes. And until next time, remember, confidence is not something that you're born with. It's something you build. All right. It's something you build. Mad love to all of you, and we'll see you next week.